Welcome. Thank you for coming to today's Atticus Advantage Growth Essentials webinar series. I'm Mike Wells. I'm the organizer here in the background. I'd like to thank you for coming and making time for this presentation today. We have some great folks on our panel, and we have some wonderful Atticus team members who will be interviewing them. Steve Riley is an attorney and Atticus practice advisor. Steve, I know you have a lot of questions and content to get underway, so I'm not going to take up any more time. I'm going to let you just take it and run with it.
Thank you, Mike. So good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending where you're at in the world. I want to introduce one of my colleagues today. I have Denise Gamez today, who's joining us. Denise is a client services director with us, and she's probably one of the most loved people of the Atticus community. So I'm thrilled to have her here today. She has a tremendous background in marketing, tremendous background in journalism, and is a tremendous communicator. So I'm just thrilled to have her here with us. So welcome, Denise.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna have Denise in a few minutes. Well, Denise, why don't you just go ahead and introduce our guest now, since you know everyone so well.
Of course. So first we have Shannon Sagan with us. He's a personal injury attorney in Lake Worth, Florida, and he's had some really great growth over the last couple of years with his firm and his staff. And then next we have Bobby Batley. She's in Albuquerque. She has an amazing family law practice there, and has actually somehow managed to grow the last quarter or two with bigger numbers than she had last year in the same quarter. So with COVID and everything, she's still, trucking right along. And then we have Jonathan White, who has an estate planning law firm in Massachusetts. And all of these are Atticus clients who have seen growth and prosperity through all this chaos that we've had. And so that's why we are so excited to have all of them here today.
Yeah, thank you. So it's really important to understand that all three are different practice areas. Jonathan, even though he's got an estate planning practice, also has a real estate component to his practice. And, Bobby is, I like to tease Bobby from the perspective, I think she's one of the best, if not the best family law lawyer in the United States. And I'm letting all of our clients know that I'm putting it out there. I'm just letting you guys know she's the best. So let me talk to you just for a few minutes about Atticus. So those of you who are new to Atticus, you just want to have a little background and context about who our guests are. We've been around since 1989, and our real goal at Atticus is to help great lawyers build great law practices. And that's really what we're about. We work with about 500 firms throughout the United States and Canada, actually over 500. And we really have designed workshops and coaching programs to help you increase your income, take more time off, and find a good balance in your professional life and personal life. And while at the same time trying to streamline your processes and improve the efficiencies and effectiveness in your practice. Now, what kind of lawyers do we work with? Well, predominantly the bulk of our clients are solo and small firm attorneys, meaning that they are sole owners. They don't work with a lot of partnerships. Now, we do have some firms that we work with that are partnerships, that have managing attorneys and team leaders that we work with that are probably a minority of our client base, but most of our attorneys are in the driver's seat. They own and control their shop, and they're really kings and queens of their own future. And that's the bulk of what we work with. We also have alliances with some fantastic companies like Elder Council, Wealth Council, bar associations like the Illinois Bar, the Ohio Bar Association, and we really help lawyers from the point in time they decide to start their practice to the point in time they decide to sell their practice. So we have different programs and different support structures for you depending where you're at. How we do that can be anything from what we're doing today, like a webinar, where you just learn some stuff by hanging out and talking, to workshops. And the workshops, even in the time of COVID, we're doing workshops, although they're not face-to-face, we're doing virtual workshops. Our coaching programs like the Practice Growth Program and Dominate Your Market Program. And then we also do a lot of one-on-one coaching, and the one-on-one coaching is more tailored to whatever your personal issues are. And then we started last year a hiring service, and we're currently only offering it for our customers, which is called Build My Great Team, where we go out and help you recruit and interview people and see if they're a good fit for your firm, basically using all the processes that we've created out of our book, Hire Slow and Fire Fast. And last but not least is the books. So we have 3 books that are very, very popular, a whole bunch of other books around that we've done, but these are 3 most popular, which is How Good Attorneys Become Great Rainmakers, Time Management for Attorneys, and the Hire Slow, Fire Fast. Now, what we really trying to do is design our programs to help you get more time off, better clients, a better team, and really drive your bottom line up, top line and bottom line revenues up. To do that, we focus on the basic levels, we focus on 4 business skills. Now, as lawyers, we know that our legal skills are the bedrock of our practice, but at the end of the day, growing the firm depends on 4 critical business skills. And if you're really trying to grow, learning how to focus and manage your time is probably the first skill. So as you listen to our panel today, listen to their time management recommendations, listen to their marketing recommendations, which is the second skill, which is how to get new clients, better clients. 3, how to build a great team. And 4 is understanding cash flow and profitability. So I'm going to recommend as you listen that you put a pen and paper at the ready, take lots of notes. If you've got a question, unmute yourself and ask the question. Mike Wells is moderating this, so Mike will manage when the questions get asked and how the questions get asked. So here's what we have. We have 3 attorneys, all are owners of the firm, that have succeeded in meeting incredible challenges during COVID. And really what we want to do, and we've got more questions than we could possibly have time to answer today, but we really want them to share, at the end of the day, how did you do that? Like, how did you do it? Like, you grew during a pandemic when other law firms were curling up in fetal positions and hiding under desks. You grew. How did you do that? So Denise, do you want to lead us off with our first question to our panelists?
Absolutely. Bobby, you just saw really great growth. But what did you think was your biggest challenge, and why do you think that was?
Sure. As the Atticus coaches know, my weakness is being the cheerleader, the hero in our firm in that role. I want to walk in every day and inspire people and set them on a straight course. And I suffered a really devastating personal loss the end of April. And I couldn't be that. I just could not be that. And so my star associate, my paralegal, my office manager just pushed me out of the way, stepped in and became that. And it was that great reminder to me to say, you get out of the way of the talent on your team. And sometimes you can't do that willingly. Sometimes you get forcibly removed. And so, Denise, it was just a reminder that I can't be everything to everybody. And so when I'm in a deep valley, somebody else has to step in. And kind of to follow up on that, I would say the thing that made me the most fearful and the biggest challenge was really worrying about the mental health of my team. And that was hard to gauge when we were not all physically in the office together. Zoom meetings, I think, are great, but you can't feel someone's energy. And so I think that was one of our biggest challenges, really checking in on each other and taking care of our mental health.
Okay, Jonathan, I'm asking you the same question. What did you find in estate planning to be the biggest challenge for you?
Yeah, so my biggest challenge was, how do I keep my processes going, whether it's estate planning or real estate closings? Because Massachusetts doesn't allow for us to use any electronic signatures. So I had to keep real estate closings going. I had to keep will signings going with people in my office. So we really had to rethink the whole process. We had to rethink the format of the office. We had to rethink how we'd handle notaries and witnesses. And we were able to do that. We were able to change things up. We were able to use resources like Zoom to review documents with people ahead of time. So when they came in to sign, there was minimal time in a conference room and keep our distance together. Similarly, I had to keep things going through a probate court and a registry of deeds who weren't always open, who weren't sure themselves how they were going to accept documents or allow us to keep cases or real estate closes flowing. So I had to really work with those state resources to figure out how to keep things moving as well.
And Shannon, I'm sure you saw some very specific challenges for PI practice that are different than maybe other practice areas. Can you talk about that a little bit?
In my business, I am all personal injury, and the bulk of my cases are basically people getting into accidents or slip and falls, premises cases. And it's pretty clear that with the lockdown, the traffic just isn't out there and hasn't been out there. So it's been a challenge, and we've had to come up with new marketing ideas, digital, keeping in contact with referral sources, trying to think of outside of the box ways to try to get that case.
Okay, Steve?
That's a perfect segue. So let's we'll just do it in reverse order. Shannon, you know, what did you do to actually get new cases? Like, how are you actually getting new cases in the door?
So I'm doing tons of lunches. I'm getting out there and I'm meeting with friends, family, clients, my referral sources, anyone who potentially could be a referral source, staying in their face. I'm trying some new online marketing campaigns as well. And I do things, giveaways online, or send out thank you gifts to people who have thought of me in the past. And I'm just really trying to stay in people's faces, especially people who are not comfortable enough to get out or to meet me for a lunch or for a drink or whatnot.
That's actually very brilliant, really brilliant. Jonathan, how about you?
So I doubled down on some professional networking groups I belonged in. They switched to Zoom right away, and that enabled me to get to more meetings. And then each meeting led to more meetings, which led to top of mind awareness. And then they made sure to follow up on any referral with a handwritten thank you note. And then just check in with people from time to time. You know, see what they need, see how it could help, and if it wasn't something help, how it could help them. So I really doubled down on that top of mind awareness through some professional networking groups I already belonged to.
Got it. So that's fantastic. Bobby, how about you?
Well, just to follow up on what Jonathan said, I think that top of the mind awareness was really what distinguished our firm from the other firms in our state and nationally that were really struggling. Just as an aside, as Denise said, our intakes are up 30% this year from this time in 2019, and our new cases are up 15% this year, this time from 2019. So we are just really proud of our team, but I think the strength was the depth of our referral bench. And the founders of this firm and myself, who've been at this firm for 19 years, said, you know, we've invested a huge amount of time in marketing over the years, in being involved in professional organizations, community organizations, and having, as Shannon's done, the lunches, and Jonathan, those personal touches have been so important over the 25 years I've been practicing, that they were so solidified that we just didn't see a dip. You know, there was about 2 weeks in March where we kind of saw, while people were getting their ground underneath them, that our phone stopped ringing a little bit, just shortened, not consistently stopped. And then it was just right back in the saddle at the beginning of April. So we felt really good about that. We really upped our social media too, our blogs. I mean, I've been busting blogs out. I'll talk about that more in a minute, but I have a ghostwriter that helps me get them done since I cannot accomplish everything. And we've done a lot of kind of corny stuff on Facebook, and some other, just I would say, tricks of expected would work, have worked really well.
Steve, can I follow up one thing on what Bobby just kind of mentioned?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
So reaching out isn't always enough. I think there are two ways to reach out. One is just to say, hey, how are you doing? Not sell yourself, just let them know you're there. That's something Bobby and I think did in common. And the other thing was value. So again, without selling my firm, in the real estate world, for example, I was able to provide value to my real estate colleagues by keeping them abreast of what was happening with the closures of registries of deeds, what was going on with our remote ink notary process. We had to change how we do smoke detector certificates. So without selling myself, it was just, hey, this is the latest on what's going on. I wanted you to know about this. Or how are you doing?
That's actually fantastic. So those of you that are listening, I want you to write two things, all right? The first thing I want you to write, because each one said this, during high stress, go to high touch. So each one of them, when your referral sources are stressed, or society seems stressed, your effectiveness of some of your traditional advertising will go down. So when there's high stress, go high touch. And that usually means you as the lawyer are going to have to identify who your best referral sources are and reach out to them and just do what Jonathan said, which is, hey, how can I help you? What can we do? And then keep them in the loop about what's happening. At the same time, Bobby said something really profound, and I don't know if most of you caught it. All right, most of you caught it, which is one of the things we really recommend that you do, and Denise and I really encourage our clients and Atticus to do, is build a referral portfolio. And a referral portfolio are really those professionals that see you and your firm as the go-to firm. And I think, you know, Bobby, you said it really well. The lawyers that have invested into a strong referral base and referral portfolio really weathered the storm very, very well. Those that did not really are feeling some pain. So good work. This shifts us to the next question. Denise, you want to ask this one and work with this one?
Absolutely. So obviously there are several challenges in marketing your firm at a time like this. People don't want to really hear from, attorneys, but your clients do. And so Bobby, you even mentioned, and I think Jonathan, you did too, that staying in touch with them and having a staff person reach out, because especially even in general family law, you can go quite a while in between touches with the clients and touches with referral sources. So I just want to hear about the things that you've learned, like what was your biggest lesson out of all of this?
Do you mind if I go?
Yeah, that's sorry.
So I really learned to be real and be creative and be open. And so just a couple of points on the be real part. We were all panicked. Well, you can imagine what our clients feel like. We do family law. We have people that are trying to figure out where they're going to live, how they're going to see their kids, what's happening with their school system. And I knew I couldn't make every phone call. So I'm going to tell you a secret. I have a daughter that can mimic me really well. Like, she's watched me for 22 years. And she didn't pretend to be me, but I said, you pretend you're me when you call. You say your name is Callie, but you act as if you're me. And she called every one of our top referral sources. She called every one of our current clients. She called every one of our closed in the last 30 days, so kind of getting used to a parenting plan clients, and said, what can we do for you? We are here for you. We know you're under stress. Honestly, nobody needed anything but an ear. Most people just needed to say, here's my biggest stressor. Thank you for listening. So I would never have done that. I am totally going to do that from here on out. I know I do. I use her and abuse her. Also, I will give her credit. Be creative. She's 22. And so she said, you have all these fancy marketing styles, and that's great, Mom. But people need, as Jonathan said, they need content, they need help, and they need it right now. They can't wait for your videographer to get here. Like, we're going to do videos. And she kind of gave us the topic. She sat me down at my dining room table, told me what to wear, and started interviewing me, and then went to my other 2 lawyers' houses and did them. And we now have 5 lawyers, but at the time we only had 3. And we just busted out videos left and right, and loaded them onto our website and put them on YouTube and you name it. But kind of following up on what Jonathan said about those things. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Jonathan, you said that one of the things you've learned is that technology is not the enemy. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so we had to really test our tech very quickly because of the shutdown order in Massachusetts. And what we learned was that we had a lot of stuff in place we didn't know we had because we didn't have to use it before. And in fact, one of our big areas of success was reducing costs by getting rid of redundant processes, redundant softwares, things we just didn't need 2 of, and using more of one software platform we had. So that was a really big win for us to see that and then really leverage what we had. On the marketing side, I was in a different direction than Bobby. What I learned was I was really good at marketing. My problem was my marketing created a bottleneck. I didn't have the right process, the right personnel in place, so I go out and market, the work's coming, but it's getting stuck in that bottleneck because I don't have the resources to help me move it through. So that taught me something different about my firm about if I'm going to market the way I'm marketing, I have to really beef my firm up to be able to handle the work I'm getting from the results of the marketing.
It's a good problem to have, right?
Right, but then that's where the tech can come in, because until I can really hire the staff I need, we need to leverage our tech better. So it's less time to do the work, automate more things, and really leverage what's there. So it all kind of flowed together for us.
And Shannon, what was your biggest takeaway from marketing and the challenges you saw this year?
One of the things was starting last year, I started creating a really good, solid marketing budget so that I knew that I had a certain amount of money to market. And when pandemic hits, it allowed me to actually increase my marketing budget and try more avenues to see what was working. Also, it got me thinking, spending a lot of time at home working from home, that I have 15 plus years as an attorney, and I have lots of contacts that I have not reached into who were clients in the past. And so I spent months actually just mastering my contacts list, getting all old clients from years ago, emails, addresses, phone numbers, going through my Facebook contacts, actually going through my phone and just pulling everyone I can think of and putting them all on a master list to start doing, newsletter campaigns, keeping them informed. And it was something I've been wanting to do for a while, but I kept putting it off because it's a huge task. It probably took me and my staff 3 months to do, but we just finished that a few weeks ago, and I'm happy.
Okay, great. Steve?
So the next one kind of plays off the tech question that Jonathan kind of opened up, which was all of your team had to go remote and you still had to manage them. So what was the lesson or lessons that you learned in managing your team remotely? And Bobby, if it's okay with you, let's lead off with you. What lessons did you learn in managing your team remotely?
So I'd say the first lesson I learned was just to empower them. I mean, again, we invested a lot of time in this team, a lot of time in training. I tell them, as often as I can, you are not here by mistake. And so I felt a little like a street preacher, but as we locked the doors on Friday, March 13th, and said goodbye to each other, we stood out front, and I'm not going to get all cry, I hope not. But I said, like, we were made for this. Like, we have every technology system in place we need. We have a tight team. We have a great referrals, basis. You all trust each other. You all support each other. We are not going to have problems. The biggest obstacle is going to be ourself, taking care of ourselves. And so I said, please work roughly the office hours that we normally keep, 8:30 to 5:30. But if your child is not okay and needs you, take off and go be with your kiddo. If you need to go take a hike and then your stamina is up better and you're ready to hit the ground running, do that. So I empowered them, and I just think it made us so much stronger. Like, we came back, they made us reopen because they missed each other. And so as soon as we could physically be back in the office, we did. And they said we just feel so much stronger together. So I think that, and I know Jonathan did a lot of calls and Shannon, so I want to turn the tech piece over to them, but I just also think those frequent check-ins, we had very regular scheduled check-ins for very distinct purposes. And then I would throw in these surprise Zooms, surprise Zoom, and people would be like, what is she doing now? But I would be like 15 minutes and I would just be like, what are you guys doing this weekend? Are you doing something fun? What are you doing? Come on. So we just tried to do that, make it fun every once in a while versus always having a production Zoom meeting. So those are my tips.
Got it. Fantastic. Shannon, how about you?
Mine's similar to Bobby. Basically, in the beginning, you've got to be a good team leader and make sure everybody's calm and focused and understands what the plan is. We would have morning Zoom meetings to just go over any questions, concerns, let everyone know that, we're working from home. It's going to be a little bit boring. You're going to need to take a break. You may get distracted, and it's okay. Telling the team we just need to be patient, and eventually, we'll get back to our offices. Also, weekly Zoom meetings as well, just kind of on Mondays to find out how your weekend was, what'd you do with your family, what good things did you have go on last week at work and in your personal life. So the Zoom meetings ended up being longer than prior to COVID, when we would have morning meetings in person. And it just felt nice. It didn't feel rushed like it used to be. And sometimes they would take 45 minutes. but I didn't want to rush it. I wanted everyone to feel comfortable.
Got it. So a little bit of where Bobby was at from just kind of trying to shift the virtual culture, more or less culture, I guess trying to shift the culture virtually, allowing the same culture you have together to occur virtually. Pretty cool. Jonathan, how about you?
I think we're all saying similar things, so I'll try and put a little bit of a different spin on it. And I'm going to come from the world of the point of view of trust. I learned it was very easy to trust that my team would do what they had to do at home. I learned to trust that they were as invested in the success of our firm as I was. And then that manifested itself out through, regular Zoom meetings, again, some for specific business purposes. We did some webinar Zooms together. We watched, webinars like this. And to be honest with you, we had a couple of happy hour Zooms where we went on, we had a cocktail, I had music playing in the background. We invited clients to some of them, and I think that goes on what Bobby was saying, that whole, it's not just business, let's have some health maintenance as well. So, but that to me, the common point for all that is you had to trust your team to do what they had to do and then give them the leeway to do it.
Yeah, that's a fascinating component, because I think it was probably the first challenge that a lot of lawyers had to go overcome when things went virtual, which was trust your team to do their job. And a lot of lawyers were calling me saying, well, everybody's virtual. How do I know they're going to do their job? How do I trust them? So it's a real educational experience. It's amazing how many lawyers that now have developed that trust with their team are talking about keeping the teams virtual rather than pulling them back together. And of course, they don't have the charisma that Bobby has. Everybody wants to be working around her. The whole other conversation, right, Bobby? Okay, so let's work on the next one, Denise. How do you feel about this one? Hiring and training.
You and I talked about this a lot, Steve, that because I started hearing Atticus members consistently ask, is now a good time to hire? There's this pool of people out there who have unfortunately lost their jobs, and I don't know, take advantage sounds horrible, but should I take advantage of this, potential hire and do it now instead of waiting and things like that? So Bobby, I think you hired through the pandemic some people, and so can you just kind of tell us how you decided to do that and thought it was a good idea? And then training, how do you handle that remotely?
Sure. So trust the process and trust Atticus is what I would say. This crazy man, Steve Riley, and I were talking in February, and I was just whining about how I couldn't, much like Jonathan, I had this clog in the pipeline. I'm a great marketer. What do I do with all these cases? I'm working way many hours than I can handle. And we were, Steve was kind of giggling at me. It's a good problem to have, Bobby. And I need more people. I need help. And so then, of course, we have a shutdown. And one of the first, maybe the second Atticus webinar I did said there are going to be these people, just like Denise said, this amazing talent that was not treated right, didn't transition well or whatever, and just look for them. So I had ads running. I pulled them when we first did the shutdown. I put them back up about end of May and maybe mid-May. And by first part of July, we had 2 new hires, not just one, but 2 new associates. And then we also hired a paralegal during that time. And we were able to do most of our training in person because we had already reopened the office like the second week of June. But our paralegal suffered a COVID positive diagnosis in her home. And so almost all of her training was through Zoom. And it was kind of fun when she finally got to be in. So she'd been here 4 days and then went remote. And it was kind of fun when she got to be back because we could follow up on those things. But again, I really thank Atticus for being there for me, not just over the last 20 plus years, but the last 6 months and training me to trust them no matter how crazy they sound.
Steve sounds crazy a lot. Jonathan, did you see anything like that where you were doing training remotely and hiring or thinking about hiring, and kind of tell us about your process?
So this is a very apt subject because I ended up using Susan Smith in the Build My Great Team offering. So I've been struggling to hire. And so the first thing I did was I realized one of my struggles was I didn't have the training processes in place. I didn't have the standard operating procedures. So in March and April, my current team and I worked on getting those ready to go. Then we worked to the ad. And then I always found out I somehow discovered a way to sabotage the process. And I really had to really dig deep inside and say, why am I refusing to do this? I know I need it. I know I want it. At the end of the day, I decided I didn't need to figure out why. I just needed to get it out of my hands so someone else could do it. So last month, I saw the hiring webinar, called up, talked to Susan, and the ad's out. We already have candidates. We're getting ready to go. So for me, it was I needed to get stuff in place. I needed to get that role out of my hands. So now when we do hire, we have everything in place. We can have a great training system. We have, calendars set up so we know how to train the person and really put them in a position to be successful. We are open again, so we will be in person now. And if we're for some reason have to close down because Massachusetts says so, we can take what we have and just do it virtually, the same way as if we were doing it in person.
Fantastic. Shannon, did you see any different challenges with the process in your market, being in Florida? Because Florida's been kind of a lot of news about Corona in Florida. So did you see any challenges there with your practice and hiring or training?
No, for me, it was different. I got lucky in the beginning of all of this. We were getting overwhelmed with work, and I got lucky. One of my former employees got laid off at her job, and we just happened to be texting and talking business, and I ended up scooping her back up, and so she's here. So I got lucky in that I didn't have to spend all that time training. Took a little while to get her back up to speed via us working virtual, and then by the time she got here, within a couple weeks, we were all working back out of the office. So for me, I got lucky. It was pretty seamless. But the program Atticus has, where they will go and look for someone for you, that's probably something I will do on my next hire. I think it just seems like it would just save a ton of time and hassle and stress.
It really does. It takes kind of that process off your plate and gives you the top 3 candidates to look at instead of looking at 20 resumes. Bobby, you wanted to say something? I
just wanted to say one other thing. I think it was Mark and Sean did a webinar on onboarding, and if people haven't watched that, they should. Everybody that was here watched that, from the receptionist to me, so that we were ready to onboard the 2 new associates in the paralegal. And so I think also having that unified mindset about how we were going to do this from that webinar was really helpful.
And most of our webinars are on the website, atticusadvantage.com. So if you wanted to watch one of those, all those out there listening, you could just go to our website and find those usually. Steve, back to you.
Yeah, I'll do it in reverse order. So thank you, Denise. And thank you, everybody. We also have a YouTube channel, so we post up a lot of programs there. Some of the programs, though, that are just client specific, we call the Practice Growth Series, and those are probably not accessible via YouTube. So I can't remember if the one that you're talking about, Bob Lee, is a Practice Growth or one of the free ones, basically, that we do for everybody. In reverse order,
I do want to mention, this is Mike. We are doing a hiring webinar on September 30th on hiring during a pandemic. So we will be revisiting the topic.
Oh, fantastic. Who's leading that, Mike?
That will be Mark Powers and Susan Schmidt, who you mentioned earlier, Jonathan.
Look, Mark is the founder of the company, one of my dearest friends and a brilliant guy, and Susan is just unbelievably good. She is just unbelievably good on the hiring side. So if you're looking to hire, this is a great webinar for you to attend. This is absolutely fantastic. So a couple thoughts about this. I just want to point out to everybody as they're thinking about this, not so much to the 3 of you, the panelists, but prior to the COVID issue, unemployment was 0 in some jurisdictions, as high as 3% in some jurisdictions. Right now, according to Bloomberg law, unemployment in the legal industry is at 15%, which is pretty impressive, considering that we've gone from almost a 0 to 3% unemployment to 15%, within a 4 to 5 month window. What does that mean to you as a practitioner? Number one, it means that if you're looking to grow like these 3 attorneys have been and are continuing to do, now is a fantastic time to go out looking for talent. 2 is if there's somebody on your team, and I hate to say this, I know someone will get mad at me, but sometimes you have to upgrade in life. And, Bobby's in the business of helping upgrade relationships. We're in the business of helping people upgrade their law firms. If you got some people that really you don't trust, kind of where Jonathan was sharing that he trusts his team that you didn't trust during this time period, and then weren't good during COVID, and we're not good team players, didn't have your back. It's time to let them go. Time to upgrade, because there's a lot of good people out there looking for work right now. And before, probably the hottest commodity still in the marketplace, I don't know what the three of you think, is probably paralegals. I think paralegals are probably the hottest commodity in the marketplace, but you know, if you're struggling, it's time to go ahead and upgrade. Those of you who are following along, Mike also posted in the chat box how to register for the September 30th webinar if you want to do that. Once again, that's at no charge, so you're more than welcome to do that. And then, so our next question. Denise, you want to do the next question? You want me to do it? I feel like I hog too much. You want to go for it?
I've been talking way more. So, you know, a big question is, especially looking at your practices and how successful you've been, especially this year being as successful as you've been. A lot of your colleagues are going, hey, what's your secret? What are you doing? So what would be the #1 piece of advice that you would give a colleague who is struggling right now? We'll start with Jonathan this time. Jonathan, what would be your one piece of advice?
So I suggest partnering with like-minded people. One thing that I was very fortunate to have happen to me was I bonded with about 12 attorneys. We were bonded together by all being Massachusetts attorneys, Atticus attorneys, and we're in a networking group together. And we committed to having a weekly call on Mondays for an hour. In that call, we celebrated wins. We looked at failures or struggles we were having, and we set goals for the next week's call. And what I found in doing that was, one, by surrounding myself with those people, I wanted to succeed because I didn't want to let them down. I felt we were like a group. I didn't want to be the weakest in the herd. And more importantly, celebrating wins was awesome and very powerful. And we found a win for everyone, even if they didn't think they had it. So I learned to celebrate the smallest of small wins. And then sure enough, over time, they built up. And the big joke in my PGP group is when we do our clearing format, I have like 47 wins that just fall out of me, and every once in a while I get 10, but that's because I got conditioned from doing this in mid-March on. And I found a way to find a win in everything. And that was the most powerful tool that I found that I would suggest other attorneys do to help them through this.
Denise, I hate to interrupt, but what Jonathan just said was so brilliant. Your confidence in your future is the wind in your sails. And so one of the things that Jonathan and his group of like-minded people did was reinforce and harvest confidence. So if you lack wind in your sails and you're feeling kind of low and not so sure what to do with life right now, one of the most powerful things you can do is start to harvest those winds and wind and redirect it into your future sales. So brilliant work, Jonathan, brilliant work. Sorry, Denise, didn't mean to interrupt, but that was just fantastic.
It was, and I love the celebrating the wins, because in a time like this, it's so easy to kind of get down and depressed and all of these things and worry about everything, even things we can't control. So the fact that you're looking at, I guess, gratitude, really great things you're grateful for, wins that you're doing and things that you're accomplishing. Shannon, what would be your #1 piece of advice to colleagues?
Similar to Jonathan, I have a small handful of colleagues locally, mainly in the personal injury world, that I will reach out to for help, advice, ideas. But I'm also, you know, in Atticus, kind of found some of the personal injury lawyers in my group and the groups that I've been in over the last few years. And we do ongoing bi-weekly meetings or phone calls. Another group, we do monthly Zoom meetings. So I find that that's been the most successful, staying in each other's face, holding each other accountable, helping each other out, coming up with ideas that worked for each other and what didn't work. And that's been very helpful.
Okay, great. And Bobby, you're like one of the most like positive, bubbly people I know. And I know you have a lot of great people around you. What would you tell?
Except when she talks to me, she's not always bubbly with me. I just want to get really clear about that. She may be bubbly for everybody else, but not when she talks to me.
When people aren't bubbly, Steve.
I am the eye to Steve's lack of eye. So, I mean, I would share with you a couple of personal things. And I, first of all, I would say, I'm quoting Mark Powers again, never, ever, ever stop marketing. I have spent tons of money in marketing in the last, 25 years. My firm has, I've encouraged people to do it. And so I understand there's a cost to it. What I think becomes a roadblock for people is they think it's all expensive. And one thing I really learned during this time was there's a lot of really inexpensive ways to do marketing. As I talked earlier, social media, I have volunteered to speak all over the place in the last 6 months. I don't get paid. It's an hour or two of my time, but it's a great way to touch other, and because everyone's doing so much virtual stuff, they're looking for someone that is willing to be on a camera and do that. So I've done a lot of those things, but one of the most personal things that I never ever intended to be a boon to our marketing was kind of accidental. I tend to be a journaler, much like Jonathan. I do celebrate my wins. I do a gratitude journal. I'm really excited about Atticus's new product that's coming out. But I literally woke up on the morning of the 13th of March and I couldn't sleep. And I just kind of wrote what I would have called a journal entry that I turned into a blog. And it was all about the fear that we were experiencing. I mean, I'm an owner, a mother, a daughter, a sister. I've been divorced. I've been alone. I got divorced right before 9/11, or no, excuse me, right after 9/11. I felt incredibly alone. And I just wrote about that. And I talked about what you could do in terms of co-parenting and gave some tips and tricks, but it was just really personal. Well, we threw it up on our website, and not only did our local bar, snatch it. I'm a pastor of the ABA Family Law section. The ABA Family Law section added it to their coronavirus website, and it got picked up by an NPR reporter. An NPR reporter called me. I did a radio interview that got picked up by a local news station. Just yesterday, I got contacted by a law library in somewhere in Florida, I believe, and said, hey, we just ran across this. Can we add this to our, COVID resources? Because we have students that are parents, and this was not jurisdiction specific. So I kind of go back to that: be creative, be open, be real. And there's a lot of things you can do that maybe you wouldn't have felt comfortable with. It's that thing that, Mark does say, oh, that's a crazy idea. Never do that. You should never do that. And then that's the thing you're doing. And so normally I would not have been that personal, but I just felt it, and I'm a feeler. So there it was. And that's been one of our, and so I really turned that into a teaching tool with my staff and my other lawyers. Like, blog, it's kind of a pain in the rear at first, but if you just let it go and let yourself go, or record it and let somebody type it for you, you have content, easy, cheap, uploaded, done. So that's I guess would be my number one piece of advice.
But I think you're hitting on another piece that's a little bigger, and good for you to have the courage to put it out to the world. It's not just investing, but taking care of ourselves first. Because you said it, we're owners, parents, children. And you think of, like, in an airplane, when the oxygen mask dropped down, what do they tell you? Put yours on first, then put somebody else's on. So I think there's a lot of value in taking care of yourself in this time, so that you're in the space to then do what you have to do for your firm. I think, now more than ever, our coach, Mark Metzger, calls it the golden goose. What are you doing to protect the golden goose? And, it's really important right now. I'm really happy to hear that you had the courage to do it in that manner, because that's a great way to take care of yourself.
That's an incredible point, Jonathan.
So fantastic. What I'd like to do as we start to pull this to a close, I'm just going to ask each one of you briefly, what's the number one thing that you're excited about for the upcoming year as we look at the next 12 months? What's the thing that excites you the most about the next year? And Bobby, let's go with you first, and Jonathan, then Shannon.
I guess our hungry young talent. I mean, they just want to learn. They are voracious in their appetite, and that excites me. It reminds me of why I entered this field. And really just knowing, like, you know what, we've weathered a pandemic, for God's sakes. Like, we can do anything. So I just feel incredibly confident about the future. And I'm really excited about what we can do for each other internally, taking care of ourselves, to Jonathan's point, and what we do for our clients.
Jonathan, what do you think?
really excited to onboard our new hire and then hire the next one. I'm looking forward to that. I have a goal in mind. I have a 24-month goal in mind. I know what I want to do, and it requires adding people. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Excellent. Shannon, how about you, sir?
I am excited because about a month and a half ago, I started the process of opening up another area of practice in my firm.
Congratulations, man. I didn't know that. That's good work. Very good work. Congratulations. So Denise, anything that you want to add before I shift to the next conversation? Because I have some things I want to encourage our listeners and participants to do.
I think we're all set.
Okay, great. So I'm going to come back to this in a second, which is really, I'm going to ask each of you that are attending and participating in today's webinar to think about what's the most important thing that you learned and what's your biggest takeaway. And so I'm going to ask you to think about that, and I'm going to ask that you post that in the chat box. So our panelists are doing this for free just to support you and us can hear what the takeaway was for you. While they do that, I'm going to give you 2 recommendations and actions. And in fact, I think I'm going to have Denise talk about one in particular, which is that we're launching a new practice growth program, which I believe both Jonathan and Shannon are participants in. So Denise, you want to talk about the practice growth program and what the live stream program is?
Absolutely. Actually, this is what I'm most excited about for the next year, is that we've adapted and we've created a live stream program for the practice growth program. So the classic, we meet in person once a quarter. With the live stream, we are meeting once a month for a half day instead of a day and a half. And we're just getting great feedback. We started a group in August that was, closed out before it started because people are just excited about this opportunity to get the coaching and to get all the processes in place without having to travel. And so the challenges in the program, which I think are exciting, is to increase your revenues the first year by 30%. Okay, and a lot of people think, well, I don't have the staffing, I'm already working too many hours, but that's where the systems and processes come in place, because you're not going to feel that 30%. You'll see it on the bottom line, but you're not going to feel it as far as more hours in the office. And that leads to the second challenge, which is a 20% decrease of time that you're spending as a business owner in the law firm. So you're going to start taking vacation. And then the third one is a 15% increase in fee per file. So what does that mean? That means higher value, better clients. So you're getting better clients through the door, and that's through the marketing and the clients. So it's just a really amazing program, and I love it. And the live stream option has been just fabulous. Our next group, I'll mention it really quickly, it will kick off November 10th. So with the one that, oh yeah, and then we have one we're partnering with Wealth Council that will start October 14th, and then the Atticus one that is not practice area specific will start November 10th.
Yes, so if you're an estate planning attorney and you're a member of Wealth Council, this is a fantastic fit for you. I would encourage you that if you're interested to either reach out to Denise directly or to email us at grow@atticusadvantage.com. If you are any other practice area other than estate planning, November 10th is the start date for the new group program. Now, we do have a special offer. Mike put this together. If you are the first 10 people that register out of this program, the $1,000 down payment will be waived. So we're committing $1,000 towards your future, and all of our programs are guaranteed. So if you are unhappy with the program, all of our programs are 100% guaranteed. If you don't think it's working for you, just let us know, and we'll adjust. Either give you your money back or put you in a program that you think is a better fit, whatever it is that you need and what you want. Denise, anything you want to say to that before I move to the next slide?
We covered it.
Okay, great. So if you're curious whether it works, you can go to our Atticus Advantage website and check out the Atticus testimonials. I think we have 200 to 300 testimonials, something like that up there. And then we also have a whole bunch on our YouTube channel if you want to check those out. If your 3 esteemed colleagues weren't enough, there's tons and tons of support out there. If you say, nah, I don't think I'm ready for the practice growth program, I'm going to recommend that you do a practice growth diagnostic. And this is kind of where we get started with a lot of people. We get you focused on your DISC, which we call the DISC Advantage, which is really trying to help you maximize what you're best at through the DISC profile, which I don't get into too much today about. Have you assessed your practice, what's working, what's not working around the time management, cash flow profitability, team development, and client development, and really dig into what we call the Solo and Small Firm Foundation scorecard, and then do a growth analysis. And then at the end of that, you focus on the 3 most important impactful actions. Now, if you want to do that, your investment in this is modest, $295, and it includes the DISC assessment. And how you get started is you register at our website, get started here. And if you do it through this webinar, when you do a diagnostic, we'll also give you how good attorneys become great rainmakers as part of that. Denise, you know, and if you're participating in this and you got to see Denise, you got to see one of the wonderful people that will do the practice growth diagnostics. So if you like Denise and you think you really liked what she had to say today, don't hesitate to schedule with Denise directly off the website. We have a scheduling process, and you can just schedule with her. And once again, 100% guarantee, no risk. Denise, anything that you want to add to that?
You know, just not so much to that, but just the overall, you know, what we've been talking about today, and one of my takeaways. You know, Bobby, Jonathan, Shannon, they all had systems in place before the pandemic hit. And that's why they weren't hit as hard as some other firms. That's why they were able to take advantage of the talent pool that became available. That's why their marketing didn't stop, and that's why their business hasn't slowed down, because those systems were already in place and having been built over the last few years. And so that's like my key takeaway from today's webinar, is that, you know, these folks already had everything and were, I don't want to say prepared for the pandemic, because I don't think anyone ever is, but they were ready if something catastrophic happened.
I think that's well said. It's one of the things I've been very, very happy about, is watching our clients take a hit, get back up, and take a swing back. And everyone is doing a fantastic job. So everyone's taken a hit, recovered, shook it off, and then jump back in the game quicker. A lot of lawyers are still like waiting for the all clear sign, and most of our folks are growing. So, you know, hats off, Jonathan, Shannon, Bobby, hats off to the 3 of you. Just fantastic work. Just really fantastic work. I am going to give you one piece of advice, and this is one of the things I'm going to recommend. As lawyers, we are the most creative procrastinators on the planet. And how we procrastinate is by saying that we're going to think about something. And so I promise you, if you think about taking action for the next 90 days, the practice that you have today is the same practice you'll have in 90 days. Thinking about it is the booby prize. It's the procrastinator's joy. You can think about it all you want. You're worried about, is it the right thing? Is it the perfect thing? Is it a good fit? But at the end of the day, you're just procrastinating. It just looks really cool because you're doing it under the guise of thinking about it. And you're doing it because you either want to make sure it's perfect or you're afraid of something. And so you just got to think about, why am I thinking about it? And what am I worried about? So that's the one big lesson I've learned, is that the less thinking and more doing is really where the action's at. And that's where the learning's at. So a couple follow-up things before we open up to questions. First and foremost, Mike already mentioned this, we're doing a webinar on the 30th on hiring in the midst of the pandemic. We talked about that already. If you want some more information, go to the Atticus YouTube channel, subscribe. We post stuff fairly consistently. And then, of course, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And with that, I'm just going to turn to our panel to see if there's any final thoughts and questions before I let Mike pepper us with any questions that might popped up. So we'll do this. Jonathan, any final thoughts or questions?
Your last quote there about getting knocked down and picked up is exactly on point. And I'm thinking about a Mike Tyson quote that I made a PDF out of and put everywhere I could. And it says, basically, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, I like that. I love that.
And that just resonated with me in March, and it's still up on my wall by my home office. And
That's a great quote. Sports writer asked Mike Tyson, "What do you think of the other fighters' plan?" He goes, "Everybody has a great plan until I punch him in the mouth." Shannon, how about you?
I was, thinking about what Denise said, and it took me a while for me to finally commit to Atticus. She's aware of that a long time, and once I did, it was just one of those things that I wished I didn't wait so long and overthink and overanalyze, but best decision for my practice.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you. Bobby, any final thoughts for you?
Shannon kind of stole my thunder because I was going to say I'm the poster child for Atticus procrastination. I met Mark over 20 years ago and dabbled for a long time, but I give hats off to Mark. He invested in me. He did goal setting with me almost every year, despite me not committing. He sent Denise after me, and she was patient as the day is long with me, and listened to all my reasons. And then when I finally knew, like, okay, it's time. I mean, literally, it was the best, absolute best time I ever could have. And that was the spring of 2015 when I joined. I did practice growth in the other programs, but I joined Dominate Your Market, a family law specific only group. I don't know what I would have done in the last 6 months without those last 5 years of work in Atticus. Personal, as Jonathan said, and taking care of the golden goose and just the professional development. And my team would not have weathered the storm. They would have not taken that punch well if I had not invested that time. So it's a big financial commitment, a big time commitment, but you will be better for it.
Fantastic. So I'm going to see if anybody has any questions for our panel. I'm just going to check in, Mike, with you, see if you got any questions that you want to post or.
Yeah, we've got several comments and at least one question's come in. I do want to just give you guys some kudos here that someone said this, they really appreciate the honesty of the panel about what you faced and how you handle it. That was very helpful. Another person mentioned they spoke with Susan, with the Build Migrate team service, and that on the first time when they spoke with her, that it was what a relief and it was a welcome conversation. As far as takeaways, we have a couple sent in. One, that there's a lot that can be done during these times. Being real and reaching out to clients is key. Another person said, my biggest takeaway is that we are all in this boat. It is great to hear everyone's experiences and how they have worked through them. A question that has come in, I was encouraged by your comments to hire better staff during the pandemic. What are you looking for as you add staff?
For me, what am I looking for?
On the panel.
Okay,
Sure.
what do you guys look for in team? 30 seconds each. What do you look for in team? We got about 3 minutes left. Bobby?
Team player first and foremost, and somebody that will enhance our firm culture. We are rigid on our firm culture, and if that is not a good fit, they're not a good fit with us.
That's fantastic. Shannon?
I'll take customer service and positivity over lots of experience any day.
That's fantastic. Jonathan?
Yeah, do they buy into my firm vision and firm vision statement?
No, excellent. Very good. Denise?
Hire slow, fire fast. Set a 90-day goal the minute you hire them, and if they're not hitting it, then you need to make sure that you're having these conversations, very crucial conversations with them.
So all of these are fantastic. What I would encourage you to do if you're looking to hire is I would sit down and just write out like the 6 most important qualities of the person you're looking to hire. And I would look at the 3 most important things that they're going to do for you. And then listen to the 3 things or the 4 things that the panel just shared with you, because each one was fantastic. Each one is expressing a value statement about how they see their firm and where they want to see their firm to go. And I think the only thing I can add to that is one of the quotes I always like to share with people is hire and manage, don't adopt. And one of the challenges that lawyers have is that we don't know how to manage people. We don't have the business skill to manage people. We don't look to hire people based on skills. We look to hire people because we like them and want to keep them in the firm because we like them. And we have it, if you're afraid to correct an employee, if you're afraid to give them positive direction on how to improve performance, then you have adopted someone. And once you've adopted someone, they're in charge. It's a family relationship. You've lost power. So if you're afraid to tell someone, look, you don't show up late, or hey, look, you didn't do this the way I'd like you to do it, in a positive, constructive format, then you have no control over the direction of your firm, and then you lose control of the culture. right? You lose control of the vision, you lose control of everything. So I would encourage you to, that would be the thing that I would add. So each one of those are fantastic. We're right on the hour. Bobby, Shannon, Jonathan, thank you. I appreciate you taking time out of a busy day, taking time to really share your insight, your wisdom, being authentic. On behalf of the Atticus community, love you guys and everything that you stand for and what you do and what you contribute. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And Denise, as always, thank you for pulling together 3 fabulous, fantastic panelists. And Mike, with that, thank you, bud. You did a great job. We couldn't do these webinars without your incredible help. With that, everybody, we're done for today. Thank you very much. Very good.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.